Imagine catching your wife in the act of betrayal, live on camera, and sharing it with an entire city on primetime TV. This is the story of how I went from devoted husband to broadcasting my revenge for the world to see. What happened next? Well, you're about to find out. I knew it was time to bring this whole situation to a close and get myself out of the control room before anyone showed up to stop me. If I moved quickly, I could disable the live assist mode and switch everything back to the fully automated broadcast. Our local TV audience had definitely seen more than enough for one night. Once I got the system running smoothly again, I could make my escape and grab a drink. Honestly, I really needed that drink. I was well aware there'd be consequences, both when I got home and when the general manager and the FCC pieced everything together and came looking for answers. But at that point, I was already in deep enough trouble that I didn't really care anymore. Like I said, I needed that drink. I headed over to Charlie's, a sports bar on Peachtree Road that's pretty popular around here, and ordered myself a drink. I sat down to catch the last bit of the Monday night football game while I downed a few more. The place was buzzing with excitement, and I knew exactly what had everyone stirred up. I couldn't catch everything they were saying, but I heard enough to know I'd definitely achieved what I set out to do. People were talking, and that's what mattered. Luckily, no one dragged me into the conversation, so I just sat there, drinking quietly by myself, watching the Saints crush the Falcons. By the time 10:30 p.m. rolled around, I was feeling pretty numb. The game had wrapped up, and my team didn't stand a chance. New Orleans 23, Atlanta 3. The Saints were clearly pumped to play their first game back in their home stadium since the hurricane, and they absolutely destroyed the Falcons. Our station aired the game alongside ESPN, given that we were one of the affiliates involved. Before I left, I asked the bartender if it would be cool to leave my car in the parking lot overnight and pick it up in the morning. He told me that was the smartest option considering my state. He even called a cab for me since I only lived a short drive away in a nice neighborhood over in Sandy Springs. And that, more or less, wraps up what happened, but I guess I should rewind a bit and explain how things got to this point. My name is Robert Quinn, though most people just call me Rob. I work as a broadcast engineer for WBLK, a CBS affiliate based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I've got a graduate degree from MIT in electrical engineering and computer science, along with a second degree in broadcast technologies. So yeah, you could say I know my stuff and have handled quite a few high-pressure roles over the years. I've been in the industry for 22 years, bouncing around various television stations along the East Coast, with the last few spent here in Atlanta. If you're wondering what I look like, I'm 46 years old with dark hair that's starting to go gray at the edges. I've never felt the need to cover up that gray, but I do have a small mustache, and I'll admit I use a bit of dye to hide the gray in that. I'm about 6 feet 3 inches and weigh around 190 pounds, though I can't say for sure since it's been a while since I stepped on a scale. I'm fairly decent looking, but I'm no Brad Pitt or George Clooney. I didn't mention any of the younger actors because, honestly, I don't keep up with their names, and they're not in my age group anyway. I look good enough, but I'm not the heartthrob type either. My wife, Kelly, and I have been married for 22 years. We have 2 daughters, Madison and Emily. Both of them have moved out, with Madison now married and Emily finishing her senior year of college. Kelly is about 5 feet 5 inches, probably weighing no more than 135 pounds, with shoulder-length blonde hair. She's beautiful, one of those women who can turn heads when she walks into a room. And on top of that, she's got the kindest heart of anyone I know. I honestly can't think of a single person who doesn't like her. She works as an assistant for Tom Keller and has been in that position for the past year and a half. Alright, let me get back to the story. This whole ordeal began last Friday. I had some extra time during lunch and thought it would be a nice gesture to surprise Kelly and take her out for a bite. It was raining, so I parked near the side entrance of her office, figuring I'd get closer to the door. When I got to her office, she wasn't there, but I decided to step inside anyway. That's when I heard her voice, coming from Tom Keller's office. "I can't wait for Monday night, sweetheart. It's so convenient that Rob works the Monday night football games. It gives us all the time we need to be together. It's been so long since I felt you with me, I can barely stand it." "Have you booked the room at the Marriott yet?" she asked. "Yeah, it's all set. I reserved the Whirlpool suite, just like last time. I can't wait either. It feels like forever. Come here, darling, let me feel you right now." I heard the faint sound of clothing shifting, followed by a soft moan from her. In that moment, it felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. I was in complete shock, barely able to hold back the nausea, and my anger was quickly bubbling up. I knew I had to get out of there before I did something I'd regret. Standing there for even another second felt impossible. I wanted to storm in and confront them right then and there, maybe I should have, but in the state I was in, I knew I'd probably lose control and do something that couldn't be undone. The thought of what might happen to me afterward was enough to make me turn around and leave. Walking away was the hardest thing I've ever done. Every fiber of my being wanted to explode, but I managed to walk out. I'm pretty sure neither of them had any idea I'd been there. The office had security cameras at the main entrances, but since I slipped in through the side door, I went unnoticed. I left the same way and drove off. I was so shaken that there was no way I could focus on work for the rest of the day, so I called the station and told them I wasn't feeling well and needed to head home. I needed some space to think things through, and home seemed like the best place. Kelly wouldn't be home until after 4 p.m., so I had plenty of time to figure out what my next steps would be. It was now painfully clear that she was involved with Tom Keller, or as I started calling him in my head, Jerk Tom. It had a nice ring to it, and I liked how it sounded. What I needed to find out next was just how deep their relationship went, how long this had been happening, and why it even started in the first place. Some people might prefer to stay in the dark when it comes to these details, but not me. I needed to know everything. I had to understand how my marriage, what I believed was a strong, loving partnership, could unravel like this. Clearly, Kelly didn't share my feelings about our marriage. She wasn't the person I thought she was. Well, I'd get to the bottom of it all and face the truth, no matter how painful. I wasn't going to sit back and let this destroy me. I was determined to confront both of them and deal with it head-on. When I got home, I made myself a pot of coffee and headed out to the patio to think. The weather was nice, and I figured the fresh air might help clear my head as I tried to make sense of everything. I knew it would take time to figure this all out, but I needed to calm myself down. I won't lie, I shed a few tears out there. It's hard not to when you realize the person you love has given themselves to someone else. I know I don't own her, but it tore me apart to think that she'd share something so intimate with another man after promising herself to me on our wedding day. Some people might not take those vows too seriously, but I did. And I thought she did too. This kind of betrayal makes you question everything, your values, your beliefs, and wonder if you've been naive for believing in loyalty and love all these years. No matter what anyone tells you, the worst part of a cheating spouse isn't just the fact that they were physically involved with someone else, it's the fact that you can't trust them anymore. You lose all belief in who they are and everything they say. That trust you relied on throughout your entire marriage is gone, and it leaves you feeling exposed and terrified. Sure, I might be 6 feet 3 inches and 190 pounds, but at that moment, I felt small and vulnerable. That's the real damage of infidelity, it can break a person down in a way that nothing else can. As I sat there, wrestling with all these emotions and trying to stay calm so I could think clearly, I realized there were things in the past that I'd questioned but let go of because I trusted Kelly. Little things that didn't seem important back then had now come together, forming this big knot in my stomach as I pieced everything together. How could I have been so blind? It was simple, trust. I trusted her. But today, that trust was shattered, and all those small doubts had combined into something I couldn't ignore. What I needed now were facts, plain, hard facts. I wanted to know why. I wanted to know how long it had been going on and how many times it happened. I wanted to know where and if there was anyone else involved. That trust was gone for good, and I was determined to get the answers I deserved. I knew now that my marriage had been nothing more than an illusion, and I'd deal with that in time, but first, I needed answers. I didn't think I could face Kelly just yet without tipping her off that I knew something was up, so around 3 p.m., I left the house before she got back. I drove into town and stopped by the station to grab a few things I'd need in the coming days. I swung by my boss's office and asked if he had a moment. I told him I was dealing with some personal stuff and wasn't feeling great, so I'd need to take a few days off early next week. He was understanding, so I headed out and made my way to Charlie's to kill some time before heading home. At 5 p.m., I gave Kelly a call and told her I'd be out for a bit and wouldn't make it home for dinner. She didn't take it too well and said, "Well, that's your loss because I'm in the mood tonight, and you were about to get lucky. But if you stay out, that's not happening." Yeah, right. Like I'd want her after what I'd heard about her and Jerk Tom. Sure, she was eager, but it wasn't for me, it was because of him. For all I cared, she could take care of herself. I told her, "Sweetheart, I've already made plans, so why don't you just keep that fire warm, and I'll handle you when I get home." I knew that would set her off. She shot back, "Don't count on it, Buster. If you think you can treat me like that, there won't be anything for you for a long time." And in my head, I thought, good, that was exactly what I wanted. There was no way I'd be getting intimate with her until I figured out the full story, and honestly, I wasn't sure I ever wanted to again. When I finally got home around 10:30 p.m., I was pretty buzzed, but not so much that I didn't notice the bedroom door was closed and locked. I couldn't help but smirk at that. I pounded on the door, just to make sure she wasn't asleep, though I doubted she was. "Alright, if this is how you want to play it, it'll be a cold day in hell before I touch you again. Enjoy it," I shouted. Then, I headed to the guest room, knowing she'd be fuming by now. That little move would give me a few days to avoid explaining why I wasn't interested in being close to her. The next morning, when I walked into the kitchen, there she was, sitting at the table with a cup of coffee in hand. The second I entered, the temperature seemed to drop a few degrees. You could cut the tension with a knife, and the look she gave me was as cold as ice. I grinned and said, "No need to get up and make me breakfast, darling. I'll grab something on my way to the golf course." With that, I walked out the kitchen door, threw my golf clubs into the trunk, and backed out of the garage. Moments later, my phone buzzed. Seeing it was her, I let it go to voicemail. Not long after, I got a notification that she'd left me a message, so I listened to it. She was absolutely livid. "You jerk. How could you do that to me? Get your butt back here right now, you idiot, Rick." Well, no, it was Jerk Tom, not Jerk Rick. If anyone was a jerk here, it was him, not me. I had no plans to actually hit the golf course, I just needed a few hours to handle some things. I drove straight to her office. Since it was still early, I figured there wouldn't be anyone around, and I was right. Using the key we had for emergencies, I let myself in. I headed straight to her office and then to Tom's. My mission was simple: place the hidden micro cameras and mini microphones in both offices. It didn't take long to get everything set up, and I hid the transmitter behind a few old books in the supply closet across the hall. I had the receiver in my car's trunk and wired it into my vehicle's electrical system, so I'd be able to listen in on their conversations and see what was happening whenever they were in the office. While I didn't expect much to happen right there at work, I knew I'd gather plenty of information just by observing them over the next few days. Once I was confident everything was good to go, I went through Kelly's desk but didn't find anything useful. However, there was a big asterisk on her calendar for Monday, which matched what I'd overheard the other day. I would be ready for that. I also took a look around Tom's office but didn't have much luck finding anything incriminating at first. Just as I was about to leave, I got an idea. I rummaged through the filing cabinets, checking for office expense receipts. Sure enough, I came across a file with several receipts from the Marriott in Buckhead. Some were from late 2023, and a few dated back to the spring of 2024. I knew I was pushing my luck by sticking around so long, so I quickly made copies of the receipts and put everything back exactly as I found it before heading out. I drove over to the golf course and parked in my usual spot, the one I always used when I played around. After that, I made my way into the clubhouse and grabbed a seat at the bar. I recognized a few folks there, and I wanted to make sure they'd remember seeing me. I found a table in the back and nursed a Sprite for a couple of hours. During that time, I went over the receipts carefully and noticed something interesting. The two from late 2023 both fell on Mondays, and the ones from spring 2024 matched up perfectly with the dates I was out of town for a conference in New York with CBS. What really set me off was the nerve of Jerk Tom charging those hotel rooms to the office, labeling them as conference room rentals for meetings. Their days were numbered now. All I needed was a bit more proof, and I'd be ready to drop the hammer. I knew this affair had been going on for at least a year, probably even longer. That also lined up with some of the doubts I'd had earlier. I had a feeling Jerk Tom had been with her even before she started working for him. She had a solid job as a receptionist at Telfer Corporation, but she jumped at the chance to work at his office, saying, "Babe, it's so close to home. What could be better? The pay's almost the same as what I was making at Telfer. How could I pass that up?" Yeah, right, closer to home, working in his office, similar pay, but it was clearly the extra perks that appealed to her most. As you can imagine, my blood was boiling. I couldn't believe how blind I'd been. I was furious, but more than that, I felt sick thinking that this sweet woman I'd loved for years could do this to me without even batting an eye. I was going to make sure they both paid for this. It was time to dig deeper, so I went out to my car and connected my iPod to the frequency of the receiver in the trunk. Sure enough, after a few minutes of data, I saw Jerk Tom walk into his office. He picked up the phone and dialed a number. I kicked myself for not planting a bug on his phone, but for now, I'd have to settle for hearing just his side of the conversation. "Hey, Kelly, I'm at the office. I came straight here after your call. What's got you so upset?" A pause. Has he ever done that before? Another pause. I see. What do you think set him off this time? A longer pause. You don't think he's catching on, do you? Kelly. Another pause, followed by laughter. Alright, well, you can get back at him on Monday night. He ended the call, sitting there quietly for a moment, clearly thinking something over. I was about to shut down the transmission when I caught him muttering something under his breath, just barely audible. I made sure to save that sound bite for later. After that, I powered down the system and drove home. I figured things would be frosty there, so I spent a little time mowing the lawn and handling a few projects in the basement. When I finally went inside, she didn't say much, but the tension was thick. I ignored her at dinner, and she just sat there, staring daggers at me. Eventually, she couldn't stand the silence any longer and tried to talk. "Rob, what's going on with you? Why are you acting like this?" Kelly, you're the one who locked me out of our bedroom last night. Now you're facing the consequences. I rarely go out with friends, but you lost it and threatened me the one time I did, so this is on you, not me." "Forget you," she snapped. "Just forget you." I looked her dead in the eye and said, "Is that really how you want to respond? Because your words and your actions aren't exactly matching the values you claim to have." You should have seen the look on her face. The guilt was written all over her. Anyone watching would have known right away that she was hiding something. How she thought I wouldn't pick up on it, I'll never know. To her credit, she quickly pulled herself together and excused herself from the table. But I thought to myself, once the truth comes out, there'll be no quick recovery for her. A little while later, she came into the family room where I was watching TV. Don't laugh, but I had it on Fox for what they call balanced news coverage. Her eyes looked a bit red, so I figured she'd been crying. The rest of the evening passed without much happening. When I was ready for bed, I headed down the hall to the guest room and settled in. A few minutes later, she walked in and just stood there. "What do you need?" I asked, not even bothering to look up. "Aren't you coming to bed with me?" she asked softly. "Nope. You made it pretty clear that intimacy isn't in the cards for me right now, so I'll be sleeping here and enjoying a solid night's rest." With that, she burst into tears and ran out of the room. Honestly, I wasn't moved by it. Monday morning rolled around, and I left the house without so much as a word to her. Shortly after, my phone rang. It was her, sounding tearful. "Rob, I'm so sorry. I love you, and I hate that we're going through this. We'll talk about it tonight," I replied, and hung up. Next, I called my boss to let him know I was still taking the day off but would be back to handle the Monday night football game as planned. He was glad to hear it and asked how things were going. I gave him a neutral answer, saying things were as good as could be expected. After that, I headed to the Marriott in Buckhead. When I got to the lobby, a young guy named Kevin was working the check-in desk. I walked up and asked him for a favor. He looked a little unsure, but he asked what I needed. So, I decided to be upfront with him. "Kevin, I'm pretty sure my wife is meeting another guy here tonight, and I need to catch them in the act. Can you help me get into the room?" He hesitated. "I can't let you into the room while they're there, I could get into serious trouble for that." "I get it. All I'm asking is for you to help me place a microphone in the room so I can hear what they're saying. If you help me out, I'll hook you up with a couple of tickets to the next Falcons game." He had the nerve to ask for 4 tickets. I wasn't about to argue since I had 4 tickets from the station anyway. I agreed, and he handed me the key to the only Whirlpool suite in the place. What he didn't realize was that I planned to set up not just mini mics, but also a few micro cameras, like the ones I'd placed at their offices. I even bugged the phone to catch both sides of any calls. Once everything was set up, I tested the system to make sure I had clear audio and good visuals of both the Whirlpool and the bed. I needed this to be ironclad proof. I double-checked everything to ensure it was discreetly hidden, then left the room. On my way out, I returned the key to Kevin and handed him the tickets I promised for next week's game. "Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the game." With some time to spare, I decided to handle a few other things. I went to the bank and got cashier's checks for half the money from both our checking and savings accounts. Then I called and canceled our joint credit cards. After that, I spoke with my broker and scheduled a meeting for early afternoon to make adjustments to our investment accounts. He assured me everything would be ready by the time I got there. I also reached out to my attorney to let him know I'd need his help for a divorce and other legal matters. We scheduled a meeting for later that afternoon. Lastly, I drove over to Planters National Bank in Marietta and opened new accounts under my name, depositing the cashier's checks. I had lunch in Marietta, but I couldn't stomach much. Afterward, I headed to my broker's office to go over the documents he'd prepared. Basically, they split our investment portfolio down the middle without having to sell any assets or create a tax mess. All I needed was my signature, and Kelly's. I took the paperwork with me. By then, it was time to meet with my attorney. We reviewed the divorce papers he'd drawn up. I agreed to file a no-fault divorce and split everything equally if she signed right away. But if she didn't, I had him add a clause allowing me to file on the grounds of adultery. I had a strong feeling she'd sign. With everything squared away, the only thing left was to grab some dinner before heading to the station to oversee the Monday night football broadcast. When I left my attorney's office, I turned my phone back on and saw a couple of messages from Kelly. "Dick, I don't know what's going on with you, but you're really scaring me. Can't you come home before the game and talk? I love you so much, and it's killing me that you're acting this way. She followed it up with, "Please call me." The irony hit me like a ton of bricks. I knew exactly what she'd be up to tonight, and so did she, yet she still had the nerve to say all that. I couldn't help but think I was the biggest fool in the world for loving and trusting her all these years. I'd already made up my mind, though. The only way our marriage stood a chance was if she didn't show up at the motel tonight. If she didn't go through with it, then I'd know she cared enough to try and save what we had. It would mean she realized our marriage was in danger and didn't want to push it any further. At 8 p.m., I switched the system over to fully automated broadcast mode, and Monday Night Football kicked off. Then, I set everything up to monitor the feed from the motel room. Right on time at 8:15, Jerk Tom walked into the room and made the call. "Hey baby, I'm here. Get over as soon as you can." "Okay, honey, I'll be there in a few minutes," she replied. He muttered a few things after hanging up, and I think I caught most of it, but I'd have to review the recording later to be sure. As gut-wrenching as it was, I didn't expect her to stop. It hurt deeply, but it only strengthened my resolve to make them both pay. I pulled out my list of contacts and started dialing. It took about half an hour, but I got through to everyone I needed. By the time I was finished, Kelly had arrived at the motel. I went back to monitoring the video and audio feeds. "Oh God, Tom, just thinking about being with you makes me so excited. I'm already soaking wet." "I love our nights together," she said. "Come here," he replied. "I'm going to make you lose control tonight." "I love it when you talk like that, Tom. I want to be yours. Please, make me yours tonight. Give it to me, hard and long, baby." A wave of nausea hit me. My once sweet wife had sunk to this level of depravity. In the next moments, I'd see just how low they'd both gone. And they deserved every bit of what was coming their way. She was on the bed, perfectly positioned for the camera, moaning and egging him on. "Oh God, yes, take me," she gasped. With a smug grin, he said, "When I'm done, you'll forget all about Dick." Her response was more gasps and groans, completely lost in the moment. He flipped her over and took control, giving her exactly what she wanted. And all I could do was watch in agony, knowing she hadn't chosen him out of love, but for the physical pleasure he gave her. After about 45 minutes, I couldn't take it anymore. It was halftime, and the show was about to start. I switched the system to live assist mode and patched in the recording of Jerk Tom and Kelly from the very beginning. It only took a couple of minutes before the phone started ringing off the hook. I ignored them all and pulled out my cell phone. I dialed Kelly's number, and I could hear it ringing on the monitors. She glanced at the screen and said, "It's Rob." "Well, I'm not picking up this time. Let's see how he likes it. Come on, baby, take me while he's sitting there waiting." I hung up and called again. "Ugh, I guess I better answer," she said, pulling it from her purse. "Hello, Rob," she answered, her voice dripping with venom. "What do you want now?" "Kelly, where are you? What are you up to?" "I went shopping since you didn't call me earlier, and I'm about to grab something to eat. I'll be home soon." "So, you were out shopping?" I asked, knowing full well what she was doing. "Yeah, and I'm gonna spend a ton of money too," she snapped. "That's just fantastic. Thanks, Kelly, for being the best wife a man could ask for." "Don't talk to me like that, you jerk. I have no idea what's gotten into you lately. Goodbye." Once again, she called me a jerk. "No, Kelly, the real jerk is sitting right there with you in that motel room." As their little session was winding down, I figured it was time to crash their party. I knew she wouldn't answer her phone again, so I called the motel directly. "Kevin, it's Rob. Are you watching Monday Night Football?" "No. You might want to tune in. Could you ring the Whirlpool suite for me?" After a couple of rings, Jerk Tom picked up. "Hey, Jerk Tom. Is Kelly there?" "Rob, why are you calling here?" Kelly said, coming on the line. Well, Kelly, here's the thing, I know you're a lying cheater. I know where you are, and I know exactly what you've been doing. I'm filing for divorce, and you're going to be out on the street. I'm also pretty sure some bad things are going to happen to Jerk Tom. What are you talking about, Rob? I don't understand what's gotten into you. Kelly, the game is up. Why don't you turn on Monday Night Football and check out the halftime show? I'll see you later. On the live feed from the room, I watched her walk over to the TV and switch it on, tuning into ESPN. Oh my God. No, she screamed as the video of her and Jerk Tom started playing. There was a bit of a delay, so she got to see plenty of what the whole Atlanta area had been watching. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, was all she could say as she scrambled to throw her clothes on and bolt out of the room. Jerk Tom wasn't far behind, cursing the entire time. I'll kill that bastard. I'll kill him, he muttered. Tom really should learn not to mumble, it'll always come back to haunt him. Once they were out of the room, I shut down the monitors and let the video stream run to the end. Then I flipped off the live assist mode and switched everything back to fully automated broadcasting. I pulled the tape and left the booth. It was probably the last time I'd set foot in that building, so I grabbed a few things from my desk on the way out. Now you're caught up. I spent the rest of the night at Charlie's, and yes, my little halftime show was the talk of the bar. After the game wrapped up, I took a cab home. When I got there, Kelly was sitting in the dark, all the lights off. The phone was off the hook, and it was clear she'd been crying her eyes out. But I didn't care. As far as I was concerned, it was over. How could you do that to me, Rob, she sobbed. After all these years, how could you? No, Kelly, I replied calmly. The real question is, how could you do this to me? I'm going to bed. We'll talk tomorrow. She didn't move as I left the room and walked down the hall to the guest bedroom. The next morning, when I woke up nursing a pretty bad hangover, she was still on the sofa, with dark circles under her eyes. It looked like she hadn't slept a wink, but to be honest, I didn't care. She brought this on herself, none of it was my doing. I went over and put the phone back on the hook, and almost immediately, it started ringing. For the next hour and a half, I fielded calls from everyone, her parents, my parents, friends, my boss, or should I say ex-boss, and both of our daughters. They were all pretty shaken up by what they'd seen, and nothing I said seemed to calm them down. I knew it was brutal for them to witness what they did, but they're adults, they'll get over it. Oh, and Mrs. Jerk Tom called too. She wanted to know if I had a full recording of the whole thing, and I assured her I did and that I'd be happy to provide her with a copy if she wanted it. It was clear that everyone I had contacted had watched the halftime show. They made sure to let me know. Some were mad at me because it was, well, X-rated, and others, like Kelly's parents, thought I was terrible for airing it all out like that. But most people sympathized with me, they understood it was an ugly situation, but they realized it was the price I had to pay for what I did. Meanwhile, Kelly just sat there, crying non-stop through all of it. Eventually, I put the phone off the hook again and went to make some coffee. When I returned, I offered her some and laid out the divorce papers and the investment documents she needed to sign. Kelly, I'm divorcing you. After what I found out and saw last night, there's no way I can stay married to you. You've been cheating on me for at least a year, if not more. These are divorce papers. If you look through them, you'll see I'm asking for a no-fault divorce, and I'm willing to split everything 50-50ths. To make that happen, you need to sign both the divorce agreement and the investment paperwork now. There won't be any negotiations, and I'm not changing a thing, this is completely fair to you. I'll give you until 5 p.m. to meet with a lawyer and confirm that what I'm offering is fair. After 5:01, the deal's off the table, and I'll file for divorce on the grounds of adultery. I'll also seek a property distribution based on what I brought into this marriage, which was more than what you brought in, and our respective incomes. In short, I'll go after everything I can. Believe me, this is the best deal you'll get, so take it. And let's be honest, fighting a divorce based on adultery when the entire city knows it's true wouldn't be wise. Everyone knows you're a cheating liar, that's what you wanted, right? I heard you say it to Jerk Tom, and now the world knows. Take the deal, Kelly. Rob, I love you, and I want to stay married to you. Can't we work this out? Maybe you do, Kelly, but it doesn't matter. Love isn't enough. Our marriage ended the moment you decided he was more important than me. Whether you realize it or not, you made that choice when you gave yourself to him. Now, I suggest you get cleaned up and find a lawyer. Time's running out. Later that afternoon, she came home with the papers in hand. My attorney thinks I should sign these, Rob. He says you've made a very fair offer, considering everything, and I should take the deal. But, Rob, can we talk? Will you hear me out and maybe, just maybe, see if we can work through this and save our marriage? I told her I'd sit and listen because I honestly wanted to know why she did what she did. I also needed to know if this had happened before. We sat down at the kitchen table, and she started explaining. There hadn't been anyone else. It all started just before she began working for Jerk Tom. She couldn't really explain why it happened because, according to her, she'd been happy with me, but something drew her to him. Maybe it was his charm or the way he carried himself. She even believed he loved her. I agreed that Jerk Tom had a way with people, but I burst her bubble pretty quickly by playing back 2 sound bites I'd saved from him. The first one was from the day I planted the bugs. That idiot better hope her husband doesn't catch on that she's sleeping with me. She's so dumb, it was easy to get her into bed, but she's gonna be history soon. The second was from the motel, right before she showed up. She doesn't know it yet, but tomorrow I'm firing her and dumping her. If she causes any trouble, I'll just threaten to tell Rob, that'll keep her in line. No way I'm risking her husband finding out. So, Kelly, not only did you ruin our marriage, but you were wrong about Jerk Tom too. To him, you were just a plaything. I saw how he treated you, and I saw how much you enjoyed it. I never treated you that way, and I never could because, to me, you were my wife. A loving wife. No, Kelly, I can't stay married to you for 2 reasons. First, you broke our marriage vows, and I can't live with that. Second, you'd never be happy with me again anyway. I wouldn't be able to satisfy you the way he did. No matter how much love there is between us, it's not enough to fix the damage you've caused. She just sat there, crying, knowing I was right. In the end, she signed both sets of papers. I told her I'd be moving out, and she could stay until she found a new place. I didn't think she could afford the house, and I had no desire to live there anymore. Our agreement was that the house would be sold, and we'd split the proceeds, just like everything else. There were too many memories there, anyway. I took the papers and the bags I'd packed the day before and left the house. First, I dropped the paperwork off at my broker's office, then checked into a hotel for the night. The next morning, I met with my attorney. We went over the divorce papers, and he agreed to file them with the Superior Court that day. We also talked about the mess I was in with the station and the FCC. He explained that the FCC could hit me with civil fines, revoke a license, or even deny a renewal application. And if it went to federal court, there could be criminal penalties, too, fines or maybe even up to 2 years in prison. None of that surprised me. I'd been in the business for 22 years, and I knew the risks. He didn't think I'd do jail time, but there'd likely be heavy fines, and my career as I knew it was over. I'd have to find a new path. Within a few days, all the fallout hit me. I was officially served by the FCC, and I knew I'd be spending quite a bit of time in court. I won't bore you with all the details, but the fine ended up being roughly a year's salary for me, which pretty much wiped out my savings. On top of that, my broadcast license was revoked, so I wouldn't be able to work in my profession for the next 2 years. The silver lining, though, was that Ted had watched Monday Night Football too. Even though what I did was illegal and pretty vindictive, he had some sympathy for me. He gave me a job that fit within the restrictions the FCC imposed. Turns out, Ted had gone through a nasty divorce recently, so he understood where I was coming from. I guess I can appreciate Ted for that. Jerk Tom confronted me once at Charlie's. He came at me like he was going to take me out, but somehow, I ended up standing over him with one foot on his chest, holding his arm tightly. Now, Tom, I don't ever want to hear from you again. Am I clear? I said. Get off me, you idiot, he growled. I figured he needed another kick in the ribs. Tom, I've got a tape of you threatening to kill me. I'm pretty sure if I take that to the cops, I'd be within my rights to file for a restraining order, or even assault charges. With the evidence I have, you'd be looking at prison time. Is that what you want? He shook his head no, so I gave him one more kick for good measure. Well, then, I guess this is the last time we'll talk. He ended up losing his job. Last I heard, he was working at a travel agency downtown. He's a smooth-talking guy, so I'm sure he's doing all right. He'll need to, because his wife divorced him for adultery and took him for quite a bit in the settlement. My little tape didn't help him much, even if it wasn't legally obtained. As for me, I'm moving on with life. Things aren't perfect, but I'm finding ways to be happy again. I've dated a few women over the past several months, but I haven't gotten serious with anyone. I haven't been intimate with anyone either. I believe lovemaking belongs in marriage, and I'm sticking to that, no matter what others might say. When the right woman comes along, I'll marry her, and we'll enjoy that part of life the way it's meant to be. I'm willing to wait for the right person. I do see Kelly from time to time. We were both at Stephanie's college graduation and Melanie's baby's baptism. I was polite, but I made it clear I wasn't there for her. I wasn't interested in being friends or pretending everything was okay. It's obvious she's not happy. I can see she's still suffering emotionally from the fallout of our split, and deep down, I think she regrets what she did. But that's not the point. The point is, she betrayed me. Maybe another man could have forgiven her, but I'm not that man. My values don't bend that way. She'll have to live with the fact that she gave up our life together for some fleeting affair with Jerk Tom. She lost me, and she lost the chance at a future with me. I loved her with all my heart, but she threw it all away. And on top of that, she's lost her reputation. Everyone who saw her performance during the infamous halftime show knows exactly who she is. Word is, she gets plenty of calls for dates, but to her credit, she hasn't accepted any. It must be torture, knowing most of those men just see her as an easy target. It's a tough way to live, but I didn't put her there, she did that to herself.